Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we're talking about a new rumor that should be leaving Zelda fans, and just Nintendo fans in general, fairly excited for the year of 2025. If this turns out to be true, we could be looking at the return for a few different Nintendo series, and it's leaving me, personally, rather excited at the possibility. And so that's what we're getting into today. But before going forward, let me take this moment to ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and if you're unsure, watch through this video and then decide. So this latest rumor is coming from Samus Hunter. There are people out there who do not want to take this person seriously because in their past, they said a lot of things and it was a mixed bag. However, as I've been discussing as of late, throughout the year of 2024, they weren't saying much, but when they started saying things, they were all teases for imminent Nintendo announcements. Emil the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, and the Donkey Kong Super Nintendo World Direct. They've teased these three different major Nintendo announcements shortly before they happened. Now, there have been other things that they've been saying, and it's been a lot as of late, so I definitely think we should caution ourselves here. Yes, take it with a grain of salt. It may not turn out to be true, but at least as of the year 2024 and now going into the beginning of 2025, Samus Hunter has not said anything at all that has been inaccurate. Everything they've said has either turned out to be true or is pending, or in some cases they have said some things that other insiders have then said something similar afterwards. For example, Samus Hunter talked about the Switch 2 perhaps coming out sometime between the months of May or June, and then Nate the Hate shortly afterwards said something very similar according to chatter that they had heard. So this is a rumor, but there's at least some reason to think that it might happen. So here's the first part. I hope that 2025 will give fans of classic Zelda-like games a new adventure to enjoy, and that they will appreciate it despite being a game from another series. So when I first read this part, I had a whole bunch of different ideas in terms of what they were referring to here. They're not talking about an actual Zelda game, they're talking about a different series that is Zelda-like. When I had just read this initial part without looking further into this thread, my initial thought on what they might be suggesting here is perhaps just Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We already know it's coming out in 2025, and Metroid and Zelda actually do have a lot of similarities. There may not be a big brand new 3D Zelda game coming out next year, but Metroid Prime might be able to scratch that itch for a lot of Zelda fans. You still have your giant epic boss fights, you have a lot of that similar level of linear progression as you obtain an item that grants you access to other areas. That's very much how a lot of different Zelda games work, and that's very much how a lot of Metroid games work. So at first, that's what I thought they were getting at here, especially because we've already talked about how Metroid Prime 4, according to Samus Hunter, might be the launch title for Switch 2 as a cross-generational title. But as we read on, other possibilities come to mind. I have read some interpret this as if it's a remake. It is a new game, not an old one. It's a little strange after Zero, resuming a formula from the most unique title in the series, but I've heard good things about it. So after reading the second of three parts to this thread here, I find it actually a little bit confusing. But one thing that's been made clear is that they are not talking about a remake, but a brand new game. With this second line where they say it's a little strange after Zero, notice how they're capitalizing Zero with the Z part, resuming a formula from the most unique title in the series, but have heard good things about it. So what a lot of people are interpreting from this is that Samus Hunter is hinting at a new Star Fox Adventures game. And it actually fits what's being described here pretty well. Star Fox Adventures is a Zelda-like Star Fox game. It plays very similar to traditional Zelda, but it uses Star Fox and it has a lot of Star Fox elements. And with that in mind, when we read this weird sentence here where they say it's a little strange after Zero, Star Fox Zero, resuming the formula from the most unique title in the series, but I've heard good things about it. So resuming after Zero, Star Fox Zero was the most recent Star Fox entry, and then it would be strange to not follow up with something that's more traditional Star Fox, but taking after the most unique title in the series, Star Fox Adventures, which is very different from all other Star Fox games. That is strange, but it fits perfectly and Samus Hunter has said that they've heard good things about it. And so let me just say, if this ends up being the case, that Star Fox Adventures, a sequel of some kind, is on the way, that would be a pretty big deal. Because yes, it would appeal to Zelda fans. A lot of Zelda fans would probably really love it. That might be one of the reasons why they're going in this direction, because they might be thinking that they can capture a little bit of that Zelda audience, especially for those who are unhappy with open-air Zelda. That way they can still have some of that more traditional style of Zelda, but with Star Fox. But I'll also say, as a Star Fox fan, I want something that's going to feel like a Star Fox game. And I liked Star Fox Adventures, but there is something about it that I do think needs to be worked on, and that's just there being more Star Fox elements. So if you want to have Star Fox running around on a planet, exploring different dungeons and bosses, having puzzles, very Zelda-like, I'm all about it. But just make sure we also have a lot more R-Wing moments. There were some R-Wing moments that felt very much like prior Star Fox games in Star Fox Adventures, but it was very limited. If we're going to have a new Star Fox Adventures game, I really hope they still incorporate a lot of the R-Wing elements throughout the game, not just once or twice, but as a recurring element per major level or section of the game. You do something like that where it's more of a better balance of traditional Star Fox gameplay, but also with this Zelda-like formula, I think that could actually make for a very good game that would still appeal to Zelda fans, but also Star Fox fans, and it would feel like a proper Star Fox game, but heading in a bold new direction. It would definitely be unexpected, but I would be happy with something like this. But there's more to this thread here. Samus Hunter continues, by the way, a game from another series that has long been rumored to be coming back with a remastered remake should actually be a new title instead. But I will talk about this in the future when I have more information. There is a hint on the game in this thread. I feel like I pretty much know exactly what they're talking about here. So remember in the second part of the thread where they oddly capitalized the letter Z in the word zero. I think it's just to add emphasis to the word zero, as in maybe F-Zero. F-Zero GX has been rumored to get a remaster remake for some time, but it's been a little while, and so if this is the game that they're getting at here, Samus Hunter is saying it's actually just going to straight up be a new title. Which, you know what, I'm totally okay with. I would like to see an F-Zero GX remaster, but really I just want that because I'm not sure Nintendo would go ahead and give us a full-on proper new game. But considering what's recently been done with F-Zero 99 and how Nintendo does like to build up to certain releases with smaller entries, you look at what they did with Pikmin, you look at what they've been doing with Donkey Kong, and maybe also with F-Zero here, I do think eventually there's going to be a bigger F-Zero entry. And so if it ends up being a full-on new game, I am more than ready for that. And with Switch 2 on the horizon, I think an F-Zero early on might be a great way to showcase the console visually, because F-Zero, at least when we take a look at F-Zero GX, it was a seriously impressive game for the Nintendo GameCube back in the day, and something like that by today's standards would just be insane, and I mean that in the best way possible. But I'm going to mention a few other things when it comes to Zelda fans having something to be excited about next year, or I guess at this point this year. I'm recording this on January 2nd, so yeah, this is probably we're in 2025 already, so it's this year. Maybe there's something Star Fox Adventures related coming down the road. That would be great. But, as I already mentioned, we're getting Metroid Prime 4 later this year, and that's going to appeal to some Zelda fans. Maybe some Zelda fans don't realize how much it would actually appeal to them, but once you get your hands on the game and you play through a Metroid game, you'll start to see what I'm referring to here. But also, we know we're getting Pokemon Legends ZA. And looking at Pokemon Legends Arceus took a lot of cues from Breath of the Wild, very clearly. So Legends ZA, I would assume, would still have a little bit of that as well. Now, that's not traditional Zelda, but in a way, it still may appeal to some Zelda fans. But there's another game we could possibly see next year that might also appeal to Zelda fans. And I don't think Samus Hunter is referring to this game based on what's been said in these 3 different paragraphs here, but many of us still think we could be seeing Monolith Soft's new IP. They were hiring for this game throughout the entire Switch era. They are no longer advertising hiring for this game, so some of us are thinking that it's not too far off from actually coming out. And when we take a look at some of the pieces of art for this game, it's very Zelda-like. So what if Monolith Soft's next new IP is like a giant fantasy medieval adventure? That's something that would definitely appeal to Zelda fans, and then considering what we saw for this concept art more so, it might even be possible that this is within the actual Zelda universe. Do I think it is actually? No, I just think this is concept art to represent certain ideas, but it's possible. And regardless, I think that anything that's even somewhat similar to what these pieces of concept art suggest could be a very exciting game to check out, especially if it's being made by one of Nintendo's best developers, Monolith Soft. And while we are getting Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition in March, I wouldn't be surprised if this new IP isn't so far off either. Will it come out in 2025? Obviously that remains to be seen, but we might at least see some kind of announcement about this game at some point this year. And so when I think you consider all of these elements, there's a lot of different things that might appeal to Zelda fans, even if it isn't actually Zelda. Now, could there be some actual Zelda entries coming out this year? I think that is a possibility. I'm not expecting any sort of new Zelda entry this year, but maybe we finally do see the release of Wind Waker HD, possibly also Twilight Princess HD. There's been talk that different Switch games could be seeing some sort of enhancement on Switch 2, that might include Breath of the Wild and/or Tears of the Kingdom. So all these different possibilities considered, Zelda fans might have a decent chance to have something that they're interested in happen in the year of 2025. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.